Hello, my dear. Today I'm going to answer paper 1 and paper 2, variant 2, February, March 2020. Number 1. Which characteristic do all living organisms show? We know Mrs. Green. Mrs. Green can help you remember the 7 characteristics of living organisms: movement, respiration, sensitivity, growth, reproduction, secretion, nutrition. So the correct answer, B, secretion. But what about breathing? Breathing, the process of moving air out and in the lungs. But respiration involves chemical reactions that release energy in cells. So here the correct answer, B. And photosynthesis only for plants. Anthropes only for plants. Number 2, using the binomial naming system. The Arctic fox is called Valbis lagobus. Which row is correct? The binomial system of naming species using Latin words. Each name has 2 parts, starting with the genus. So the first name, genus, and always giving a capital uppercase letter, and followed by the species, starting with a lowercase letter, and all italic. So the correct answer, B. Number 3, what is a characteristic of both insects and arachnids? The correct answer, B, exoskeleton. Both have exoskeleton. Why A isn't correct? Because 8 legs only for arachnids, and 3 pairs of legs for insects, and wings also for insects. Number 4, what structures can be found in both plant and animal cells? Plant cells and animal cells surrounded by cell membranes and also contain nucleus. So the correct answer, D. A isn't correct because cell wall for plant cell and cell membrane, plant and animal cell. So not correct for both. And also B, not correct for both because cell wall for plant cell. C, also chloroplast only for plant cell. So the correct answer is D. The diagram shows a sample of material taken from an organism. Which level of organization does the sample show? This sample show group of ciliated cells. This is the definition of tissue. Tissue is a group of similar cells. So the correct answer, D. Number 6. What is the function of root hair cell? Root hair cells in a plant have a long extensions that give them a large surface area to absorb water and ions from the soil. So the correct answer, A, absorption. Which row describes osmosis? Osmosis is diffusion of water molecules from a region of their higher concentration to a region of their lower concentration through partially permeable membrane. So the correct answer, B, movement of water through partially permeable membrane. But osmosis doesn't need energy. Only active transport need energy, but osmosis no. So the correct answer, B. 8. Student made the following statements about the movement of ions by active transport. What is the definition of active transport? Active transport is the movement of ions or molecules across that cell membrane against a concentration gradient using energy from respiration. Let's see number one. Number one, net movement of particles from low concentration to a high concentration. Correct. Net movement of particles from a high concentration to a low concentration. No, it's not correct. It's correct for diffusion only. It requires the use of energy from respiration. Yes. And it can only take place in living cells. Yes. So the correct answer, 1, 3, 4. So the correct answer is A, 1, 3, and 4. A test was performed on a food substance. Positive result was shown by a color change to blue-black. What solution was used for the test? Let's revise this part. Iodine solution gives a blue-black color when added to starch. Benedict's solution turns orange when boiled with reducing sugars. Barrett's solution gives purple or violet color when added to protein. White emulsion forms when fat dissolved in ethanol is added to water. So the correct answer, C, iodine solution. The positive result was shown by a color change to blue-black. What about DCBIP solution? Is detect vitamin C and color disappear. The diagram shows an experiment on the digestion of the protein in egg, albumin, by protease. The protease was taken from a human stomach. In which test tube will the protein be digested most quickly? A, egg albumin plus protease, or egg albumin plus dilute hydrochloric acid, or egg albumin plus dilute hydrochloric acid plus protease, or egg albumin plus dilute hydrochloric acid plus boiled protease. Okay, let's see A. Egg albumin plus protease isn't correct because the acid pH of about 1.5 to 2 gives the optimum conditions for the action of the protease enzyme. So A isn't correct. And B also isn't correct because here no protease. C is correct. Egg albumin plus dilute hydrochloric acid plus protease enzyme. What about the egg albumin plus dilute hydrochloric acid plus boiled protease? Boiled protease, here the enzyme is the nature, so isn't correct. So the correct answer, C. What is the left at the end of an enzyme controlled reaction? Yes, enzymes, here enzyme and products. At the end of an enzyme controlled reaction, enzymes and products. So correct answer A. 12. Student draw diagram to show the substance used and produced in photosynthesis in a leaf. 1 plus 2 are used by the leaf. What about 1 and 2? 1 and 2, yes, 1 water and 2 carbon dioxide. What about 3 and 4 are produced by the leaf? 3 glucose, 4 oxygen. So the correct answer B, 1 water, 2 carbon dioxide, 3 glucose, and 4 oxygen. Because photosynthesis is the process by which plants make glucose from raw materials using energy from light. Carbon dioxide and water are the raw materials for photosynthesis, and the products of photosynthesis are glucose and oxygen. So the correct answer B. The diagram shows a type of plant cell. In which tissue is this cell found? Here, chloroplast. Let's see balanced mesophyll. Here, balanced mesophyll. Balanced cells contain lots of chloroplast. Here, most of photosynthesis occur. So the correct answer B. What about leaf epidermis? Upper epidermis, single layer of cells with no chloroplast. Only light goes straight through. Xylem also no chloroplast. Xylem transport water and the ions to the leaf. The list shows some human health problems. 1. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, constipation, coronary heart disease, obesity. Which problems can be caused by malnutrition? Malnutrition, if your diet doesn't contain right amount of nutrients, decrease or increase. So the correct answer 2 is constipation, eating food low in fiber, and 3, coronary heart disease, high cholesterol, and obesity, eating too much and moving too little exercise. So the correct answer 2, 3, 4, correct answer C. But what about number 1? Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. Is a chronic inflammatory lung disease that causes obstructed air flow from the lungs. 15. The table shows the percentage of students from 2 schools who have 1 or more decayed teeth. School X, 30% of students with decayed teeth. School Y, 60% of students with decayed teeth. What might explain these results? These results explain that School X, there is less sugar in the student's diet at School X than at School Y. Why? Because decay begins when small cavities, small holes, appears in the enamel. The cavities are caused by bacteria on the tooth surface. The bacteria feed on the sugars deposited on the teeth, respiring them and producing acid, which dissolve the calcium salts in the tooth enamel. The enamel is dissolved away in patches, exposing the dentine to the acids, and the dentine is softer than enamel and dissolves more quickly, so cavities are formed. 16. Digested proteins are absorbed into the blood as protein, absorbed into the blood as amino acid. So the correct answer is A. What about fatty acid? The fats are absorbed into the blood as fatty acid. Starch are absorbed into the blood as glucose, and also fats absorbed into the blood as cholesterol and fatty acid. 17. When stems with white flowers are cut and placed in a blue stain, the petals turn blue. Which tissue in the stem does the stain travel through to reach the petals? Let's see the answer. The answer here is D, xylem. Because xylem vessels transport water and minerals and mineral ions from the roots up the stem to the leaves. But flowing vessels transport sucrose made in the leaves during photosynthesis and in storage organs to other parts of the plant. The correct answer D. Which process releases water vapor into the atmosphere from the leaves of trees? Okay, let's revise. Active transport is the movement of ions or molecules across the cell membrane against a concentration gradient using energy from respiration. Isn't correct? about release water vapor into atmosphere from the leaves of trees. What about osmosis? Osmosis, diffusion of water molecules from region of higher concentration to lower concentration through partially permeable membrane. So it isn't correct. What about respiration? Respiration is involve chemical reactions that release energy in cells. Well, what about transpiration? Yes, it is correct. Transpiration is the evaporation of water at the surface of the mesophyll cells, followed by the diffusion of water vapor through stomata to the atmosphere. '19. Which person is most at risk from developing coronary heart disease? Coronary heart disease is caused by blockage of the coronary arteries that supply the heart with glucose and oxygen. Risk factors that we cannot control are genes, age, and sex. So here gender. Avoidable risk factors include diet and lack of exercise, here activity level, and smoking. Here other information about smoking. Okay, let's see. A, 23, female, professional athlete, non-smoker. B, 40, male, plays sport at weekends, non-smoker. C, 19, female, plays sport twice a week, smokes 5 cigarettes a day. But D, 65, a male, does no exercise, smokes 20 cigarettes a day. So the correct answer, D. The diagram shows a section through a blood vessel. Which type of blood vessel is shown? And in which direction does the blood flow? Here we can see valve. So the type of vessel is vein. What is the direction here? Yes, from Q to B. Q to B, one way. Okay, so the correct answer, D. Which disease is transmissible disease? Cholera, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, lung cancer, and scurvy. The correct answer, A, cholera, because transmissible disease caused by pathogen. So the correct answer, A. What about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease? Let's see, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Here, a chronic inflammatory lung disease that causes obstructed airflow from the lungs, that caused by smoking. And also lung cancer, smoking, tobacco, scurvy, deficiency of vitamin C. So the correct answer, A. Is cholera caused by pathogen, here bacteria. The diagram shows an alveolus. The row arrows represent the movement of gases. Which row is correct? Number 1, air. Number 1, air. Number 2, here oxygen. Blood carries oxygen from the lungs to the cells. Number 3, blood carries carbon dioxide from the cells to the lungs. So the correct answer, C. 1, air, 2, oxygen, and 3, carbon dioxide. '23. 4 flasks are sterilized and are set up as shown. Which flask will contain the most alcohol after several hours? Here, yeast and water at 4 degrees Celsius. B, yeast and water at 20 degrees Celsius. C, yeast, water, and sugar at 4 degrees Celsius. D, yeast, water, and sugar at 20 degrees Celsius. Let's see A. A, yeast and water at 4 degrees Celsius, low temperature, and also no glucose. Isn't correct. B, yeast and water at 20 degrees Celsius and no glucose. So is it correct? C, yeast, water, and sugar at 4 degrees Celsius, very low temperature for enzyme to work. D, yeast, water, and sugar at 20 degrees Celsius, suitable temperature. Here heat increase, activity of enzymes, maltase and fructase enzymes increase. So the correct answer D. In the diagram, which letter identify the urethra? Urethra, here, urethra carries urine out of the body, so the correct answer C. This is bladder, and here B, ureters, and A and D, renal artery and renal vein, and here this is kidney. Some organs are listed: adrenal, pancreas, ovary, and salivary, which are endocrine glands. Endocrine glands, pituitary glands, pancreas, adrenal glands, and testes and ovaries. So the correct answer, adrenal and pancreas and ovary. 1, 2, and 3. That is the correct answer A. The table shows some of responses that occur in humans when body temperature changes, which show the response that occur when the body temperature increase above normal. Let's see: hot weather, not weather, hairs lie flat, and hair muscles relax. So the correct answer B. What about in cold weather? Hairs stand up and hair muscles contract. So the correct answer here B. Hair lies flat. What is an example of phototropism? A chemical messenger produced by a plant is auxin, painful sensation in response to a stimulus, the plant. Growth of a plant towards the center of the earth is about gravitropism. The growth of a plant should towards light. Yeah, it is correct. So the correct answer D. This identified gravitropism, the growth response to the stimulus of gravity, not light. Roots are positively gravitropic and shoots are negatively gravitropic. Phototropism is a growth response to the stimulus of light. Shoots are positively phototropic and grow towards the light. So the correct answer D. The oxygen carrying capacity of the blood of smokers is less than that of non-smokers. Which component of tobacco smoke causes this? Yes, carbon monoxide. Because carbon monoxide combines with the hemoglobin in red blood cells and so reduces the ability of the blood to carry oxygen. So the correct answer is A. Which statement about sexual reproduction is correct? Asexual reproduction produces genetically identical offspring from one parent. Yes, is correct. Sexual reproduction produces genetically identical offspring from two parents. No, only one parent. Asexual reproduction produces genetically different offspring from one parent. No, isn't correct. Because asexual reproduction produces genetically identical offspring from one parent. Asexual reproduction produces genetically different offspring from two parents. This is about sexual, not asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction results in the production of genetically identical offspring from one parent. So the correct answer A. What about sexual reproduction? Involves the fusion of the male and female nuclei to form a zygote producing offspring that are genetically different from each other and their parents. Which environmental factor isn't always a requirement for seed germination? Let's see the conditions for germination. Three conditions are needed for seeds to germinate. Water is needed for seeds to swell. This swelling breaks the seed coats of some seeds. Cells absorb water, develop vacuoles, and expand. Cell expansion makes the radicle, it's the embryonic root, grow out from the seed. Water is also needed to dissolve the soluble products made by enzymes from the food stores. Water also activates these enzymes. So water is correct. Oxygen also is needed for aerobic respiration to provide the embryo with energy. And also suitable warm temperature is needed so that enzymes can work efficiently. So the correct answer, A. A isn't always requirement for seed germination. Maybe during light and during dark. The diagram shows the female reproductive system. Where are gametes produced? Yes, gametes are produced in ovary. The female reproductive system consists of ovaries and oviduct, uterus, and cervix and vagina. The ovaries produce eggs, which are released into oviducts at ovulation. The oviduct is the organ where fertilization occurs, and uterus is the organ in which the embryo and later the fetus develop, and cervix is a ring of muscle that separates the uterus from the vagina, which is also called the birth canal. So the correct answer, C. The ovaries produce eggs, which are released into oviducts at ovulation. Some features of cell division are listed. Number 1, involved in making gametes is about meiosis. Involved in replacing cells, mitosis. Makes genetically different cells, meiosis. Makes genetically identical cells, mitosis. Which features are involved in meiosis? Meiosis 1 and 2. 1 involves in making gametes, and 3 makes genetically different cells. So the correct answer, A, 1 and 3. 1 involved in making gametes, and 3 makes genetically different cells. 2 and 4 about mitosis, not meiosis. Which cross will be pure breeding? Female homozygous individual and male heterozygous individual bred together? No. Here a male heterozygous, different, not pure. A male homozygous individual and a female heterozygous individual bred together? No. Because female heterozygous. Two identical heterozygous individual bred together? No. Two identical homozygous individual bred together? Yes, it is correct. Because both both homozygous. (34) What applies to selective breeding but not to natural selection? Humans selective breeding, the artificial selection, involves humans finding organisms with desirable features, crossing them, and selecting the best from the next generation. So the correct answer, A, humans select individuals with desirable features. But individuals may produce a large number of offspring, and individuals pass their alleles to the next generation. There is variation among the offspring produced in natural selection. What is the principal source of energy for living organisms? Yes, the sun. So the correct answer, D, the sun. The diagram shows a pyramid of numbers. Which type of organism is found at level 1? Here, level 1, producer. Level 2, herbivore. 3, carnivore. So the correct answer D, producer. The diagram show part of the carbon dioxide. Which process occurs at Y? At Y, carbon dioxide in the air, then carbohydrates in living plants. So the correct answer here, photosynthesis. Because carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and here convert to organic compounds in green plants. Carbohydrates in living or carbohydrates in living plants. The organic compounds in green plants. So the correct answer, photosynthesis. Because plants use carbon dioxide as a raw material in photosynthesis process and they produce carbohydrates. Chopped apple is placed into filter paper and a funnel as shown in the diagram. Enzymes are added to increase the volume of apple juice released. Which enzyme would release the highest volume of juice? Amylase? No, amylase for starch. Lipase for fats and lipids. Protease is for proteins. What about pectinase? Yes, pectinase is used to extract fruit juice by breaking down the pectin in the cell walls in fruits such as apple. So the correct answer C, pectinase. Which effect is most likely to occur as a result of deforestation? Deforestation leads to extinction of species, loss of soil erosion, and flooding, and increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So the correct answer B, increase in soil erosion. What about A, increase in the number of species? No, extinction of species. It's not correct. Decrease in the level of carbon dioxide? No, increase the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Decrease risk of flooding? No, here flooding increase. So the correct answer B, increase in soil erosion. The diagram shows the positions of 4 farms and the concentrations of nitrate at different points in a river. Which farm is likely to have been using too much fertilizer on its land? Which farm is likely to have been using too much fertilizer on its land? We know nutrients are needed for healthy growth of plants. They are used for a variety of purposes in plants. If these nutrients are lacking in the soil, then plants do not grow well and show certain symptoms known as deficiency symptoms. Plants need nitrate ions to make amino acids, which are used to make proteins, as proteins are required for growth. Plants deficient in nitrate show poor growth. So the correct answer, farm A, because here nitrate concentration is low. So farm A is likely to have been using too much fertilizer on its land. Paper 2, variant 2. The actual thickness of the leaf shown in the diagram 2000 micrometer, but its thickness in the diagram is 50 millimeter. What is the magnification of the diagram? Magnification equals image size divided by actual size. But here image size in millimeter. We convert millimeter into 2 micrometer. By multiply by 1000. So here 50 multiply 1000 divided by 2000 equals 25. The diagram represents enzyme action. What are parts? W is substrate and X enzyme and Y products. So the correct answer C. X here, X enzyme, and Y products, and C and W substrate. So the correct answer C. Cholera infection can cause the following events. Cells lining the small intestine secrete chloride ions. Cholera bacteria produce toxin. Chloride ions move into the small intestine. Water from the blood moves into the small intestine by osmosis. Water potential of fluid in the small intestine becomes lower. Which sequence of events which cause diarrhea? Here, cholera is a disease caused by the bacterium Vibrio cholera that is transmitted in drinking water and food contaminated by fecal matter. The bacteria produce toxin. So the first one, cholera bacteria produce a toxin. We start with number 2. So the answer between B and D. Let's see the second one. The bacteria produce toxin that causes cells lining the small intestine to release chloride ions. So the second one here, cells lining the small intestine secrete chloride ions. So the correct answer 2, then 1 and 3. Chloride ions move into the small intestine and water potential of fluid in the small intestine becomes lower. So water from the blood moves into the small intestine by osmosis. Which food group is chemically digested in the mouth, passes through the stomach, and continues to be broken down by chemical digestion in the small intestine, in the mouth and the small intestine? Yes, the correct answer A, carbohydrates. Because amylase enzyme work in the mouth and small intestine. But proteins in stomach and small intestine, not in mouth. Mammals have a double circulation, which show the correct sequence for the movement of blood in mammal. Thus we start with body and then heart, then lungs, and finally heart again. To body and heart, lungs, and heart. So the correct answer A. The antibodies that give immunity to a disease can be acquired in the following different ways. Number 1, feeding on breast milk, infection by disease, vaccination. Which give active immunity? Active immunity only infection by disease or vaccination. But number 1, feeding on breast milk of mother, it is passive immunity and temporary. So the correct answer C, 2 and 3 only. During physical activity, what stimulates the brain to increase the breathing rate? Let's see here. Control of breathing. You don't think about your breathing. Most of the time, it just happens. So what makes you breathe faster and deeper when you exercise? The brain has a special part for controlling breathing. When you exercise, the tissue respire more quickly and make more carbon dioxide. So the correct answer here, C, increased carbon dioxide concentration in the blood, which lowers the pH in the tissues and the blood. They become more acidic. They may also make lactic acid, which does the same. Your brain detects the rise in carbon dioxide and the lowering of the pH of the blood reaching it. The brain sends nerve impulses to the diaphragm and to the intercostal muscles, so they contract faster and further to increase the rate and depth of breathing. By breathing, your brain detects this rise in carbon dioxide and the lowering of the pH of the blood reaching it. The brain sends nerve. The table shows some of the changes that occur during breathing. From contracted to relaxed diaphragm, P, external intercostal muscles, Q, internal intercostal muscles, R. From contracted to relaxed. From relaxed to contracted, X, Y, and Z. Which changes occur to cause inspiration? During inspiration, the external intercostal muscles contract. So Y is correct. And the internal intercostal muscles relax. So R is correct. At the same time, the diaphragm contracts. So X is correct. So the correct answer C. X, Y, and R. Diaphragm contract. External intercostal muscles contract. And internal intercostal muscles relax. How many molecules of ethanol are released from the anaerobic respiration of one molecule of glucose? Here, glucose, alcohol, carbon dioxide plus energy released. Here, two molecules of ethanol. The diaphragm shows a kidney and its blood vessels. In a healthy birth, from which structure or structures transport glucose? The kidneys filter materials out of the blood, take back useful substances into the blood, for example, glucose, and control the quantity of water lost in the urine, and secrete urea in the urine. So here what happens? Filtration and reabsorption. So here renal artery brings blood, contains glucose to the kidney, and also renal vein takes blood away from the kidney after reabsorption, also contains glucose. So the correct answer C, artery and vein. The diaphragm shows synapse. Where are vesicles containing neurotransmitter molecules found? Yes, here. In this place, synaptic gap. Okay, but where are vesicles containing neurotransmitter molecules found. Yes, in this called what? This called synaptic vesicle that containing neurotransmitter substance. So the correct answer B in this place. Which row show the state of the ciliary muscles and suspensory ligaments when the eye is focusing on a near vision? When the eye is focusing on a near object, near vision, ciliary muscles contracted and suspensory ligaments slack and lens thick. So the correct answer A. The diagram show a shoot growing towards light. Which statement about the rule of auxin in phototropism is correct? This response is controlled by auxin made in the shoot tip. The auxin diffuses away from the shoot tip down the stem. When a shoot receives light only from one side, the auxin is unequally distributed, so most is found on the shaded side, on shaded part of the stem. The auxin stimulates cells on shade side to elongate more than the cells on the side in direct light. The shoot grow more on the shaded side and bends towards the light. Roots aren't sensitive to light. So here, which is statement about the role of auxin in phototropism is correct. Auxin will move to the dark side of the shoot and cause cells to elongate. So A is correct. What about B? Auxin will move to the dark side of the shoot and prevent cells from elongating? No. Here, cause cells to elongate. So B is not correct. Auxin will move to the light side? No. Move to the dark side. Auxin will move to the light side and prevent cells from elongating? No, to the dark side of the shoot and cause cells to elongate. Bacteria such as MRSA are resistant to several different antibiotics. Some suggested actions for reducing the development of antibiotic resistance in bacteria are listed. Only use antibiotics when necessary. Yes, you should use antibiotics when necessary. Only use antibiotics on resistant bacteria. No, it's resistant bacteria. So number 2 isn't correct. Do not use antibiotics to treat viral infection. Yes, because it's for bacteria, not for viral infection. So the correct answer C, 1 and 3 on. The diagram shows sperm cell. Which part contains mitochondria to release energy for movement? Yes, this mid piece containing mitochondria. So the correct answer B. What is the correct statement about lymphocytes? Lymphocytes engulf pathogens? No, it's phagocytes. Lymphocyte numbers can be reduced when a person is infected with HIV. Lymphocytes produce antigens? No, it's incorrect. Produce antibodies. Lymphocytes transport oxygen to different parts of the body? No, it's about red blood cells. So here, let's read this part. HIV and lymphocytes. HIV attack and destroys an important type of lymphocyte called T lymphocyte that coordinates the immune system. During an infection, T lymphocytes stimulate other lymphocytes to produce antibodies. During an HIV infection, the number of T lymphocytes decrease, and so fewer antibodies are produced every time there is another infection. By reducing the number of T lymphocytes, HIV weakens the body's ability to defend itself against pathogens. Eventually, the person infected with HIV will be infected with other pathogens because of their weakened immune system. Various types of cancer may also develop. The statements describe how a protein is made. One, mRNA passes through ribosome. Messenger RNA molecules carry a copy of the gene to the cytoplasm. The gene coding for the protein is copied in the nucleus. Ribosomes assemble amino acids into proteins. What is the order statements that correctly describes how a protein made? Let's see here. Number one, DNA on whence. Number two, gene is copied into messenger RNA, and mRNA moves out of the nucleus into the cytoplasm. mRNA passes through ribosome. Finally, the ribosome assembles amino acids into a particular order to make a protein molecule. So the first one, the sequence of bases on DNA, if they are called the gene coding for the protein is copied in the nucleus. And then messenger RNA molecules carry a copy of this gene to the cytoplasm. And then number one, messenger RNA passes through ribosome. Finally, ribosome assemble amino acids into a protein. So the correct answer, D. Which row show the features of stem cells? Stem cells are unspecialized cells produced by mitosis. They produce daughter cells that become specialized for specific functions. So the correct answer, D, unspecialized and mitosis. Which statement is a correct description of the role of meiosis? To create genetically identical daughter cells? No, it's about mitosis. To have the chromosome number in the daughter cells? Yes. To create diploid daughter cells? No, mitosis. To maintain the chromosome number in the daughter cells? No, meiosis. Mitosis. So the correct answer, meiosis, is a division in which the chromosome numbers is halved from diploid to haploid, resulting in cells that are genetically different. So the correct answer, B, to have the chromosome number in the daughter cells. The photo micrograph shows some red blood cells, sickle-shaped red blood cells. What are the possible genotype combinations of this person? HPS, HPA, or HPS, HPS, yes, one carrier and other suffer from sickle anemia. So here, sickle-shaped red blood cell. But B and C and D not correct, because B, here this normal, this one normal, HBA, HBA, and here D isn't correct because here also HBA, HBA is normal. So the correct answer, A, SA and SS, because AA is normal for sickle anemia. The events listed may happen in population. One, better adapted organisms survive. Mutation results in variation. Survivors pass on their alleles to the next generation. There is a struggle for survival. Let's see this part. There is a variation between individuals of the same species. There is a struggle for survival due to competition, competition, and disease. Only individuals better adapted than others will survive to breed and pass on their alleles to their offspring. So number 3, last one. And number 2, the first one, mutation results in variation. Then there is a struggle for survival. After that, better adapted organisms survive. Finally, survivors pass on their alleles to the next generation. So the correct answer B. Which rule describes how energy flow through biological system? There's an important difference between these two processes. The sun is a principal source of energy input into biological system. So the first one, light entering the biological system. Light energy is absorbed by photosynthetic organisms and made available to all other organisms as chemical energy. Energy transfer occurs when animals feed on plants and when animals feed on other animals. Eventually, the energy is transferred to the environment, transferred between organisms in a biological system as a chemical energy. Then heating it up and is wasted. Nutrients, on the other hand, consist of the chemical elements that make up living organisms. They are taken up by plants, passed on to animals, and eventually recycled back into a biological system. This is known as Neutron Cycling because they are constantly reused. So here entering the biological system, light transferred between organisms in biological system, chemical transferred from biological system to the environment as heat. Now, the diagram show a food chain: grass, mouse, and owl. Which terms describe the position of the owl in this food chain? Owl, third trophic level and secondary consumer. So the correct answer B, secondary consumer and third trophic level. Which method is used to produce lactose-free milk? The use of lactase in making lactose-free milk. Some people do not produce enough lactase and therefore have problems digesting and breaking down lactose. The sugar found in milk, they may get diarrhea, wind, and stomach cramps if they consume milk or milk products. Lactose is a complex sugar similar to sucrose that can be broken down into simple sugars by the enzyme lactase. So here, using lactase to break down lactose. So the correct answer C. Thank you, my dears. Goodbye.